What is the truth about Minnesota Governor and now Democratic vice presidential pick Tim Walz and his military service record? Questions have been swirling, including allegations that Mr. Walz abandoned his fellow troops in their greatest time of need, even claims of stolen valor. Yesterday on this program, I spoke with a Minnesota National Guard veteran who has been sounding the alarm on this story for years. Tom Behrens, who took over the post, Tim Walz left when he retired just as his unit, the unit under his command, was deploying to Iraq, was on this program yesterday. And Tom made some stunning allegations. For what it's worth, the Harris-Walz campaign and the complicit media would have you believe this entire controversy is just a bunch of nonsense. But today we're going to bring you the receipts. Here's what we know. Days after the September 11th, 2001 attack on our nation, Mr. Walz re-enlisted in the National Guard for a 6-year commitment. He would later claim it was only 4. Alpha News, there in Minnesota, they've obtained the paperwork. It was 6. So I don't know why he's misleading about that, but he signed up to stay in until 2007. 2007, not 2005. In late 2003, he deployed with his unit to Italy in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. Operation Enduring Freedom is also known as the war in Afghanistan. He never went to Afghanistan. He never saw active combat, nor was he part of Enduring Freedom. Again, that name is used for the war in Afghanistan. He was in a support role in Italy. In the military, these words matter. In February of 2005, okay, we're flash forwarding now 2 years from the Italy service, he filed paperwork with the Federal Election Commission to run for Congress. 1 month later, in March, his own campaign acknowledged before he retired from the National Guard, he was still in the National Guard, that he knew he might be getting deployed to Iraq. They put out a press release titled, quote, Walz still planning to run for Congress despite possible call to duty in Iraq. And indeed, this is something that is done. Sometimes active duty National Guardsmen also running for office. At that time, he said, quote, as Command Sergeant Major, I have a responsibility not only to ready my battalion for Iraq, but also to serve if called on. That's him, months before he retired. After he'd already said, I'm thinking about running for Congress. I'm dedicated to serving my country to the best of my ability, whether that's in Washington, D.C. or in Iraq. 2 months later, in May of 2005, Mr. Walz, the same one who 6 weeks earlier said, quote, I have a responsibility to serve if called on, retired from the National Guard, effectively telling those who served under him, good luck in Iraq. I won't be there. This was years before his commitment was due to end. Now the media points to the fact that his unit did not receive the official alert orders to deploy to Iraq until July 2005, 2 months after Walz officially retired. But that doesn't change the fact that he clearly knew that a deployment was a possibility at the time he decided to bail. Nor does it change the fact that Walz retired early. Those are facts that are not in dispute. He retired early, even by his own measure, where he's claiming he was allowed to retire at some point in 2005. It's fine. They do retire early sometimes. It's not totally unusual for someone in the service to retire early once they've, surpassed the time that they committed to. But this was a re-up, the 6 years, but not on the eve of being deployed with all of the men under you who you're responsible for the first time to the theater of war. That's what makes this controversial. There's no question he did that. His own letter acknowledging he knew he was likely to get a deployment notice to Iraq months before he retired shows you he retired, left his unit, knowing he was abandoning those men. That is a fact that our guest, Tom Behrens, yesterday took real issue with.
Everybody was in shock because senior NCOs don't do that. I mean, that you basically train for years and years. You're with your soldiers. Your soldiers are literally like your kids almost. I mean, you've watched them grow up. You've helped them shoot guns and learn how to do the radio stuff. And, fix wounds if you can and different things. And then all of a sudden when it's time to go do your thing with that, you quit. I mean, that just absolutely it was just disgusting.
His former unit would eventually deploy for 22 months at the height of some of the worst violence Iraq has ever seen. And at least 3 members of that unit were killed. And where was Tim Walz? He was sitting in D.C. in Congress. The campaign will say Walz did his part, serving for 24 years in uniform, and was a tireless advocate for our men and women in uniform as a congressman. Fair enough. The record will bear that out, or it won't. We'll, I'm sure, have somebody digging into all those claims, but he certainly served the nation for 24 years as a National Guardsman. But Mr. Walz also appears to have misled, or at least did not correct, mistakes about his military record repeatedly. A newspaper article about his run for Congress falsely claimed he served in Iraq. This is when he was first running. He did not serve in Iraq. Again, he served in Italy. Did he call them up and try to correct that? There's no correction on it. Back in 2004, Walz was photographed at a protest carrying a sign reading "Enduring Freedom Veterans for Kerry." Again, that insinuates he served in Afghanistan as part of Enduring Freedom. He did not. He was in a supportive role in Italy. And again, in the military, just ask military vets, these words matter. A veteran named David Thule confronted Mr. Walz's aides in his congressional office about that representation, that sign suggesting he had served in Operation Enduring Freedom. Back in 2009, the guy went into the campaign offices and sat down with Mr. Walz's staff, and Mr. Thule filmed the encounter. Here's part of that exchange.
We're here on a veteran-related issue. I don't know if you are familiar with this picture at all. This was taken in 2004 here in Mankato, and it's actually been posted on the internet for quite some time, and nobody quite realized what it is. But in this picture, Congressman Walz here is holding a sign that says "Enduring Freedom Veterans for Kerry." So tell me what your understanding of his military background is.
Yeah, I understand that he was called up in support of it, obviously, in support of that operation. That's how I've always understood it. And so the time that he, when he got called up, I guess I've always referred to it as, he was called up and served in support of Operation Enduring Freedom.
Okay, so is there any question in your mind what Enduring Freedom is?
No.
Okay, so I guess most people, and you yourself included, would associate Enduring Freedom with Afghanistan, right?
Right, but okay. I mean, I think it, as I also understand that it encompasses a great deal in there.
Well, Operation Enduring Freedom is limited to Afghanistan and the airspace directly above. There's other units that are called up in support of, and I'm sure that's probably what his military orders said.
Right.
My concern, other than this picture, is that the congressman's website, his official biography, says simply that he was mobilized with his battalion in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. Without any other details, don't you think it's reasonable people might assume that means he served in Afghanistan?
Perhaps, I guess.
Are you aware of any of the media reports from 2006 that inaccurately cited the congressman as a war veteran?
Specifically, I can't think of any right now, but I don't. I would imagine that I know people have approached me as a staffer and thought that, and so I've corrected them. If you serve in support of an operation, you're not necessarily a veteran of that operation. Exactly. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So your question is more about this picture than his biography.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
The biography is one of them. That's bad. That's misleading. That's a little bad. This right here, under current U.S. law, this could get the congressman probably thrown in jail in violation of the 2006 Stolen Valor Act, which says it is a crime, a federal crime, to portray yourself in writing or verbally as having received an award or decoration authorized by Congress that you didn't receive. Congressman Walz is clearly claiming in this sign, in this picture with this sign, to be an Enduring Freedom veteran. He is clearly, nobody disputes the fact that he is not an Afghanistan or Enduring Freedom veteran. So this represents a fairly serious issue. So can I leave you my name and number, and can I trust that someone will get back to me on this issue?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you heard the gentleman raising not only that sign, which said he was a veteran of Operation Enduring Freedom, but also Walz's own campaign announcement, in which he called himself a veteran of Operation Enduring Freedom. Okay. All right, so he said it himself. He held a sign that said it, and he said it himself in his campaign announcement. He's a veteran of Operation Enduring Freedom. Flash forward to 2008, and Walz also endorsed a book. That book was titled Winning Your Election the Wellstone Way. The book had a section on Tim Walz, falsely describing Walz as a National Guardsman who served in Afghanistan. Now, he pushed this book, he endorsed this book. Are we supposed to believe he didn't look at the one piece of the book that was about him and say, hey, I did not serve in Afghanistan? Out of respect for the men who did, that needs to be changed. And then there are Walz's own false statements about how he is allegedly, now don't play this soundbite yet, allegedly a retired command sergeant major. I'm going to play the soundbite, but just keep in mind when you hear this, it is the word retired that makes this title false. And once again, titles and words in the military matter.
I'm a retired command sergeant major. I spent 24 years in the Army National Guard.
So when you first came to Washington, you were a retired command sergeant major in the Army National Guard, so you were drawn immediately to...
As a 24-year veteran of the National Guard and the Red Bull Division and a retired command sergeant major.
He's not. He's not. According to the Minnesota National Guard, Mr. Walz did not complete the necessary work to achieve that title in retirement. He did not earn it. He held that title provisionally for a short time, but did not do the 2-year training to actually earn it. He quit, and he retired at a lower rank. This has all been confirmed by many, including the officials, and it's on the Stolen Valor X account as well. J.D. Vance, himself an Iraq War veteran, has hit Tim Walz hard on this issue. Yesterday, reporters tried to get Walz's response to the flurry of reporting that is coming out now about his misrepresentations regarding his record. He either did not hear them or refused to answer. Watch.
Governor, Vance accused you of stolen valor. Your response. Governor, Vance accused you of stolen valor. Your response.
And it's not just all of that. Just this week, the Harris-Walz campaign tweeted out a video of Tim Walz in 2018. He was bragging about his record on guns. And once again, he misstated the facts. Take a listen to him in 2018, I think it is, SOT 6.
Hope woke up like many of you did 5 weeks ago and Dad said, Dad, you're the only person I know who's in elected office. You need to stop what's happening with this. I'll take my kick in the butt for the NRA. I spent 25 years in the Army and I hunt. And I gave the money back, and I'll tell you what I have been doing. I've been voting for common sense legislation that protects the Second Amendment, but we can do background checks. We can do CDC research. We can make sure we don't have reciprocal carry among states, and we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
Except he did not carry weapons in war. He went to Italy in support of the war that was being fought by our guys in Afghanistan. And when it was time for him to carry a weapon and go to Iraq, he quit. Those are the facts. Do you owe back taxes? Pandemic relief is now over. Along with hiring thousands of new agents and field officers, the IRS has kicked off 2024 by sending over 5 million pay-up letters to those who have unfiled tax returns or balances owed. Don't waive your rights and speak with them on your own. Tax Network USA, a trusted tax relief firm, has saved over $1 billion in back taxes for their clients, and they can help you secure the best deal possible. Whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, they can help you. Whether it's business or personal taxes, even if you have the means to pay, or if you don't, if you're on a fixed income, they can help finally resolve your tax burdens once and for all. Call 1-800-245-6000 for a private free consultation or visit tnusa.com/Megyn. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.